Hey guys, and welcome to the Alabama Saltwater Fishing Report presented by Angelo DePaola, the Coastal Connection with eXp Realty, the first podcast to bring you the local inshore, offshore, and onshore fishing report, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. We have a great show lined up for you guys this week, but first, let's hear what's making the show possible. This week's Alabama Saltwater Fishing Report was brought to you by Great Days Outdoors magazine. If you hunt or fish in Alabama or the Deep South, you know that it's different down here. Spawning seasons, patterns, and food sources are not the same as they are in other areas of the country. At Great Days Outdoors magazine, Southern outdoor writers pick the brains of the best Southern hunters and anglers and give you the best how-to, where-to, and when-to articles, along with so much more. Pick up a Great Days Outdoors magazine subscription and become a better Southern outdoorsman. Great Days Outdoors magazine can be found at your local Barnes & Nobles, Books A Million, Tractor Supply Company, Rural King, Bass Pro Shops, or you can save and buy online at greatdaysoutdoors.com. And also brought to you by Hilton's Offshore Charts. The days of heading out and blindly looking for good fishing areas are pretty much over. Don't waste time and money on fuel searching for fish. You need the most recent, highest resolution images to not only know where to go, but where not to go. The knowledge provided by today's technology is critical when planning an offshore fishing trip. Make the choice that professional captains all over the Gulf make and choose Hilton's Real-Time Navigator. The easy-to-use interface and excellent customer service will have you on the fish every time you go. Check them out at hiltonsoffshore.com. All right, folks, welcome back to the Alabama Saltwater Fishing Report. I apologize for my froggy-sounding nature. I'm a little bit under the weather today, but we do have a great report lined up for you guys. We're going to get an awesome Silver King tarpon report from Chris Vecsey down in Orange Beach, Alabama. I know he's been on a good bite of those. I'm really looking forward to hearing about that and hearing some etiquette since I'm very green. I've never caught a tarpon, so I'm trying to work on that this year. You guys hang in there with me. I'll do my best not interject any witty banter because I know I sound absolutely terrible. Let's get right into it this week, guys. Let's head on down to Orange Beach, Alabama. Let's see what Chris Vecsey is doing over at Sam's Bait and Tackle. How we doing today, Chris?
Doing pretty good. Just kind of taking it easy before work. Wanted to go fishing this morning. Woke up, kind of saw the radar. Saw, everything really didn't look too bad, but I was like, you know what? Why not take an easy morning?
A little relaxing morning. I like it. Well, what you been up to over there, man? I know I've been seeing you do a ton of stuff. You've been mostly inshore. You've been in the surf. What kind of report are we getting today?
Mostly inshore, a little bit of nearshore stuff, which we'll get to in a bit. A lot of stuff in the kayak here lately. I haven't been on the beach side as much because there's still a decent bit of grass, and then it's just been rough. We've had a lot of storms and things, and it's just kind of messed stuff up. This time of year, I like to usually get out there and throw lures and stuff like that. And when it's real stirred up like that, the bluefish and ladyfish, a few things are really active. The trout can be kind of hit and miss, and they have been in the surf here lately. There's still some action to get into.
Man, we've had a ton of, upstate rain. We've had a bunch of mid-state rain. We've had a ton of local rain. And I know we've talked about all the time how it affects, you guys over on the east side a little bit differently than it does over us on the west side over here, just because we have those, big rivers. What are you guys seeing as far as water quality on your beaches? And then, whenever you go inshore a little bit where you're catching those speckled trout and redfish, what are y'all seeing over there?
The beach, I just got to tell you, it's ugly. That water's ugly as hell right now.
Yeah, I figured it would be.
Yeah, it ranges pretty much from yoo-hoo to like pea soup, dirty green. And then in the rivers, like most coastal rivers right now are pretty muddy. But the key is finding the ones that have, clear, like, kind of clean, like creeks and culverts and stuff flowing into them. Those are kind of hot spots right now. Primarily where I've been targeting trout and redfish is being able to locate those areas where you have a little bit influx and current from those creeks, and then, finding that little bit cleaner water.
Yeah, that makes sense. What are the speckled trout and the redfish that you're finding in kind of the back bays right now? You said you've been doing some yakking over there. What are you using for bait right now? Is it pretty much just a live bait only situation? I know how you feel about live bait. I know you don't like to do a whole lot of it, but what are you trying to focus on right now?
I mean, I'm throwing artificials, which you already know that kind of goes without saying, but no, you could definitely get back there. As far as live baits go, local live bait is the way to go about it. Like, not if you throw shrimp in these creeks right now, the pinfish and stuff are going to eat you alive. You really need to, use some kind of either like small mullet, little menhaden, any kind of small bait fish that are prevalent in the creeks you're fishing in. Most of what I've been seeing the fish feeding on in these creek mouths and stuff are small mullet. Like, I'm not talking about finger mullet. I mean, these are like 1.5 to 2 inch mullet. And those free lined or put under a float right now are going to be pretty much dynamite on anything feeding those creeks, especially the trout.
What about water depth over there right now? Has all the fresh water pushed the fish down and deep at all?
They've been hanging, like most of the trout I've been catching have been in anywhere from 2 to 4 feet of water. Not deep, not really deep at all. Redfish have been, there were some reds in some of the creeks I fished the other day off Fort Morgan. There were some reds sailing along the grass lines. I'm guessing on crabs or shrimp and stuff being flushed out of those creeks.
Mm-hmm.
So no, the fish are, they're active. They're going into shallow water. They're seeking out that food. The water is a little bit higher right now, so they're able to feed in areas that they normally wouldn't. That's made a really big difference.
Yeah, I mean, they still got to eat. It doesn't matter if they're chasing them or being chased away from or into more salinity. They got to eat somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the thing is like low salinity, as long as you have a transition, trout a lot of time when you get that high, that high volume of fresh water, it can almost like, how it is, it almost like shocks them. It moves them into different areas and it can kind of shut the bite down. But gradually as they get accustomed to it, they turn back on. Redfish could care less. You could take a redfish from, the highest salinity saltwater and throw him in your farm pond and he's going to do just fine and start eating immediately. Redfish, they're kind of like the honey badger. They just don't care. I think that's one of the things that's so awesome about them is they live in every environment. They feed in every environment and they take such a wide variety of lures and stuff. Most of the ones I've been catching have been on wake bait, twitch baits. I've been getting them on fly a lot. They've been hungry. Picking out what to throw at them is not hard. It's easier to think of things I haven't caught one on than have. So, you really do anything that imitates a small shrimp, a small mullet, a small crab will catch a redfish. Trout are the ones that they get so keyed in sometimes on a certain bait species. And that's why, smaller baits in the creeks have been so much, more productive because they're feeding on a lot of small stuff.
Yep, that definitely makes sense, man. All right, so we've covered the Back Bay inshore area. It's funny, man. It's funny how we talk about, some things kind of come and go in the northern Gulf. We have the Ling Run in the spring that sometimes happens and sometimes doesn't. It's been a little tricky the past couple of years, but that's a whole nother topic. Man, this time of year we get the old Silver King, the old tarpon roll through here. I know some of the old school guys kind of keep it on the hush and don't like to talk about it as soon as they come and things like that. But it's here, man. They've been biting really well, and I know you've been on them. And I think this is a really good chance to not make people shy away from that, but let's just educate them a little bit. I know you're a authority on the subject, and you've been doing it a long time, and you're really conservation minded. So I'm ready to hear this report, and I'm ready to hear some etiquette and just how you guys do it over there.
Well, it's kind of funny you talk about the old school guys. I have for the longest time always been one of the old school guys. There's a lot of years I hardly talked about tarpon. It was because there wasn't, like if I go back 20 years, tarpon fish off the beach, there was hardly anybody out there really fishing for them.
But times have changed.
The ones that were, that were fishing for them, we all knew who each other was.
Right.
You could see a boat down the beach and you could identify, that's such and such. But, the last few years, last year, I've never seen as many boats fishing for tarpon as I did last year. And the problem, it's not that there's a problem with that. I mean, they're migratory fish. There's plenty of room along the beach for everybody to fish for them. But the problem is, I'm going to lead into saying not novices, guys that are new to fishing for them.
Sure.
They
and that's okay. But you just need to know how to do it properly.
Exactly. And the problem is is understanding that, once again, they are migratory fish. They're moving up and down the beach, the entire beach line. So what happens is you see, how social media is nowadays. A picture gets posted. I know that condo where they're fishing. So 20 boats gang for that one spot. Once again, they're moving down the entire beach. You do not need to be in that one particular spot. You can go anywhere along the beachfront and have a shot at these fish. And that's what happened last year. Is a couple areas along the beach got really congested with it. What happens is you end up shooting yourself in the foot, getting in a crowded area like that, pressured fish, they're not going to bite as well. And it also makes it to where you're, the guy next to you or down the beach from, now you have this spook school of fish coming at him. So if everybody spaces out, everybody can have a reasonable shot at these fish. So it's just a matter of understanding how their migration works. It's, give your fellow angler who's down the beach from, give them at least a few hundred yards or so, and you'll be successful. One of the main things besides that is proper fish handling. Like I say, last year, I've never seen that many people tarpon fishing. I've also never heard and had pics sent to me of as many dead tarpon floating in the water. I remember one morning we were heading out, we found 2 of them floating dead in the pass. And, a lot of that happens from 1, fighting them too long, 2, mishandling them, bringing them into the boat for pictures and stuff like that. In Florida, it's actually illegal to bring a tarpon longer than 40 inches into the boat. And there's a reason for that. One, it's hard to handle a big fish like that without injuring it. And I don't mean to sound like I'm not a tree hugger. I've definitely put a lot of fish to sleep in my time on the water, but I 100% believe that, you either harvest the fish or you let it go in as good a shape as possible. There shouldn't be an in-between.
Agreed.
And that's one of the problems with tarpon is we see people wanting to get that perfect hero shot in the boat or, whatever, and it causes excessive handling. And then with improper revival, the fish ends up being crab bait. And that fish is just too valuable as as an economy driver all along the Gulf Coast. I mean, so much money is spent targeting tarpon, especially in the state of Florida, that it's really kind of important. The fish that are largely catch and release need to be kept in, healthy population. And it really helps. It's be respectful to your fellow anglers, keep proper distance, use heavy enough tackle to land your fish quickly, take a few quick pictures, keep them in the water, make sure you revive them properly, and you'll have a healthy resource for the foreseeable future. Right now we have plenty of tarpon. There's plenty of them out there to catch, but as more and more and more people are fishing for them or fishing for any species, that's how you end up seeing the decline of a fishery over time is too many people, and especially if they're not, educated. Yeah, you're beating them up. A lot of pressure. So,
all right. Well, let's dig into that a little bit more, man. All right. Let's start with, you said you need a proper and sturdy setup to get a fish in quick as possible and release it. Walk me through your ideal tarpon setup.
We use a mix of both conventional and spinning gear for them. Spinning is definitely the way to go on any given day. And the reason being is that sometimes we're having to cast at the fish as they go by, and heavy conventional gear does not throw a free-line live bait or a big plastic swim bait quite as well. So heavy spinning gear, something that holds at least, say, 300 yards of 50-pound braid or even 65-pound braid. I like an 8-foot rod, something that's extra fast with a lot of backbone. And the reason being for that is, you get a little bit more reach with the 8-foot rod. And, tarpon are a fish that to beat them quick, you need to play angles on them. And what I mean by that is when those fish are up on the surface, coming up the roll, instead of just hiking up high on the rod like most people want to do, I actually like to fight them with the rod tip low and pulling to the sides, going opposite the direction they're going. You're trying to stall that fish out as much as possible from his forward motion, and that's how you wear them out. You use a lot of pressure on them. Use a little bit longer, much heavier action rod, and you put it to them, because if you don't, I mean, those fish, I mean, they're kind of famous for a reason. I mean, they're extremely hard fighters, and they will fight to the death. So it's important to use the right tackle on them. I use 80 and 100 pound fluorocarbon leaders, 7 and 8/0 circle hook. We put a lot of pressure on them from the start and try to get them beat as quickly as possible. Not only so the fish lives, but so you can get back to fishing, a little bit quicker, because you don't want to be out there fighting 1-2 hours and waste half your morning fishing, just for the one fish.
Right. No doubt. I know this because I did it for a long time, but a lot of folks don't know that you can actually, you can just test the pound drag. You can put a loop in the end of your line and put a scale on it and see how many pounds of pressure you're putting on that fish, in a quote fighting bow in your rod. Do you have any idea what you put on those fish?
Oh yeah. From the hook set, I'm usually, I'd say we probably have about 8 pounds or so on the strike while we're sitting there waiting. Mm-hmm. But once we get settled in the fight, I'm going to keep creeping up on drag until we're really slowing the runs on those fish. A lot of time I don't measure it once we get above that setting, but I've no doubt that sometimes we're using, 15, 16 pounds of drag on them anyway. And that may sound light to a lot of people, but I show people in the shop all the time that, what they think they're pulling on a fish with that rod and reel is nowhere close to it's way above what they actually think. Like they're thinking they're putting 20, 30 pounds of pressure on the fish. They're not. It's sometimes only a matter of 5, 6 pounds. I mean, you have such a leverage disadvantage that it feels like you're putting all that pressure on them, but you're not. So yeah, we put a lot of weight on the fish from the start. And even on the jump, a lot of people want to ease off, when the fish is jumping. I really don't. I keep the drag heavy, from start to finish. We beat fish a lot quicker. We probably have an average fight time of maybe 15, 20 minutes on most big tarpon.
That's awesome. I mean, that's a great point in general. Sometimes we talk about things that we take for granted that you guys do every day that some people just don't think about. And I think that even a spinning reel, I mean, pulling out your drag and knowing what you are on full strike and knowing what you are, you can even put little tape marks on your conventional reels. We used to do that tournament fishing a lot. It's important to know what you're putting on a fish at strike and then halfway to full and then on full. You need to know what you're doing and then pay attention after that fight. Pull it again and see what you were actually pulling and be like, man, that was a great drag.
Yeah, absolutely. It helps you when you know the feel of what, say, 10 pounds of drag is, and you're using 65 or 80 pound braid on a fish or 50 pound mono on a fish. It gives you a much better understanding of how much more or really how much less you should be putting on something. You end up losing fish, breaking lines and everything else, or you end up fighting a fish far too long.
Right.
So,
you realize your drag was way too light.
Yeah, you got to have an understanding of what you're putting on them. Speaking of drag settings, like sword fishing.
Yep.
There's two different mindsets. Sword fishing, there's two different mindsets. Some guys talk about how they have soft mouths and, you need to use light drag. Me and most of the guys that I've fished with over the years and, we think the exact opposite. I look at it, you got a good hook set or you don't. I'd rather go ahead and put it to them and lose them immediately versus
rather lose the first 30 than the last 30 of a 3 hour.
Exactly.
100% agree.
With tarpon, that mindset comes along. I want to bury that hook in that cinder block of a mouth of his, and we're going to keep heavy pressure on him from start to finish. And it definitely pays off. We land a lot more fish because of it.
For sure. All right, man. I like it. So we got our rod and reel set up. We're headed out of the pass. What are we doing to catch a tarpon?
Well, every day it's different. First thing you got to do, of course, you can always run a gun, just throw artificials at them. I've done that plenty of times. Obviously you need the fish rolling actively to be successful with that. This week we had some days where the fish were rolling a lot, and then there were days where there was nothing on top. You're always going to want to stop and get some live bait. What we call crazy fish, Atlantic bumper is the actual name, are usually probably the best baits for them. They're hardy, they're easy to catch. But we use, LYs and threadfin herring and just about any smaller local bait will work for them. But you got to get set up off the beach front. Depth lines can vary. They can be anywhere from right on top of the sandbar out to 30 feet, 35 feet of water. It all depends on the swell conditions and watercolor. Sometimes they like to get along a tide line off the beach, for example, and that's where you got to target them. That's going to change. The main thing is being very, very observant, keeping your eye on the water, looking for rolling fish, looking for bait schools. And then you see boats, down the beach that are also fishing for them. Like I say, give everybody a little bit of space. But you can kind of watch from what they're doing. See if you see people hooking up in closer, if you see people hooking up out deeper, it'll give you a good idea of what lines you need to be on to be successful with them.
Now,
you just got to adjust.
Sorry to interrupt you. Is there something, I remember you talking about last year that there was some sort of a, if your boat is on the same, I guess plane is a bad word because we're on boats, but on the same line, if you're looking at the beach and there's a boat the exact same distance from the beach, 100 yards or 200 yards down, walk me through that. Isn't there a line etiquette?
Yeah, that's that's what we talk about, lines or lanes and
lanes. That's a good word for it.
And that's really where the importance of etiquette comes into play. And that's why here in the last few years, I don't mind speaking about what we do a little bit more because, unless you educate people on, what the setup is and how we're approaching this fish, you end up with a guy who's never done it before and he goes out and he's going to anchor 100 yards up line from you. And he's going to end up blowing shots on your fish.
Right.
You can fish the same lines as somebody. You just got to space out because what usually happens is, let's say you're sitting on 22-foot depth line, waiting for those fish, and the fish come down your line, they come into your baits. Whether you get them to eat or whether you don't get them to eat, more often than not, you're going to deviate those fish. They're going to go out offshore from you, or they're going to cut to the inside of you. And what happens is, if I anchor up 200 feet up line from my buddy down the beach, I'm going to actually push those fish around him to where he's
going to divert all those schools.
Yeah, I'm going Exactly. Right. I'm going to divert the whole group. But if I get up 200-300 yards or better, what'll happen is those fish will divert, but they'll end up coming back on that line. It's funny how those fish are. They like to travel on a certain depth line. So you give each other space, and what happens is you get a shot on the school, the next guy down the beach will get a shot on the school, the next guy down the beach will get a shot on the school. So it's beneficial for everybody to space out like that. Yeah, not just you. So it's just like I say, proper etiquette and understanding how those fish move down the beach. More success for everybody.
That's really good stuff, man. I'm glad we went in depth on that. What about moon cycles for tarpon? And do you ever chum?
Well, we're gonna be coming up. I mean, they're funny. I've logged for years, season after season on tarpon. A lot of time leading up to the full moon in July in particular, you might get a little bit of a lull, and sometimes it'll be weird. You'll have, the week prior, you'll see tons of fish, catch plenty of fish, and all of a sudden for a few days, they're just gone. Seeing them, you're not seeing them rolling, you're not hardly catching them. And then, a day after the full moon, 2 days after the full moon, all of a sudden there's tons of tarpon back on the beach. And from satellite tracking them, we've now learned that a lot of those fish head far offshore, presumably to spawn. Mm-hmm. And, you're talking over 100+ miles offshore, like where you're more likely to run into them out of the floating rigs while tuna fishing than you are, inshore in the bay or anything. We've kind of learned that. So you get those little spawn cycles, and that might throw a lull in the action. But the main thing about catching tarpon, they're finicky fish. Understanding the major and minor cycles of the moon play a huge hand in their bites. And it can be like a light switch. You'll be out there, you'll be surrounded by tarpon, you're not getting bites, they're going through your baits, you're throwing swim baits at them, nothing's paying attention. And then, it can be midday, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. It's like a light switch. All of a sudden, you got a fish on, and every time you put baits out, you're getting bit. So time is what catches those fish more than anything. You got to spend time on the water.
You ever notice any tide change if they key in on any incoming or outgoing tide or anything like that?
I 100% catch more fish on an incoming tide than I do an outgoing. You can't help that. You can only go fishing when you can. I've definitely caught them on an outgoing tide, but if I can pick, I definitely want an incoming tide over outgoing.
You ever chum for them?
No. And I have a couple buddies that do, and here's the reason I don't chum. You know how it is fishing like Mobile Bay, for example, or even Pensacola Bay. Chumming a lot of time will bring them into you, and often is the way you have to fish for them. Off the beach, we don't have to do that. We got migrating fish. They're going to be coming down the beach. You just got to wait for them. Gotcha. What happens if I do put the chum out is I get mackerel, I get sharks. I get
that's what I was just
a lot of things. Yeah, I get a lot of things that I do not want to catch, and then you're spending time replacing hooks, retying, re-rigging, and you don't have baits in the water. So
and you could be missing a school come by because you're messing around with a shark.
Exactly, and I don't advise if you're fishing the beach for them. I don't advise chumming.
Makes great sense, man. That's a great report, Chris. We really appreciate the tarpon and the inshore report from the east side. Folks want to come over at Sam's and get set up with a nice tarpon setup or a surf fishing setup. What's the best way to get in touch with you guys?
I mean, we're open 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. every day of the week. You can come by whenever. You can call us at 251-981-4245. You can find us on Instagram. Our Facebook page right now is temporarily disabled for whatever reason. So,
but, y'all are in jail. Did you get in trouble?
No, I'm actually not sure what happened to it. But, the best thing is, give us a call at the store. It's so much easier to answer questions, voice to voice or face to face. So just come see us. We'll get you set up. We kind of value our customers catching fish. That's why they come back to us. So let us help you out.
Awesome. You guys go check out Chris Vecsey over at Sam's Bait and Tackle. That's 27122 Canal Road, Orange Beach, Alabama. We really appreciate the report, Chris, and we look forward to talking with you next time.
All right. Thanks for having me.
All right, guys, that's another great segment. Let's take a quick break and hear from some of this week's sponsors. That segment was brought to you by Test Calibration. Is your diesel engine showing signs of low pressure or excessive engine smoke? If so, you may be in need of a repair to your diesel fuel injection system. Test Calibration has been selling and servicing diesel turbochargers and fuel injection systems since 1976 and are up to date with all the latest diesel technology. No matter if you're running a diesel in your boat, tractor, or truck, Test Calibration can help you. Contact them at 800-822-0057 or visit them online at testcalibratondieselandturbo.com. And also brought to you by Sam's Stop and Shop is your one-stop shop located at 27122 Canal Road in Orange Beach, Alabama. Sam's has a little bit of everything, including a deli, inshore, offshore, and surf fishing tackle. They also have bait, clothing, groceries, name brand sunglasses, and so much more. Sam's also has tackle experts and podcast contributors Chris Vecsey and Dusty Hayes on hand to answer any questions you may have about any type of local fishing and can also repair your rods and reels if necessary. Stop by and shop or call them at 251-981-4245 today.
All right, folks, it's always good to hear from Chris Vecsey over there. It's good to hear those mighty Silver King are coming in there and giving those guys some pull time. And I really like Chris's conservationism and his conservationalist aspect on pretty much everything that he does. It's always respectful and always trying to educate someone to do the right thing. And I always appreciate that about him. Let's head on down to Gulf Shores, Orange Beach, Alabama area. Let's get a near shore, kind of get a bottom fishing report. Let's see what Captain Kendall Annan's been doing on the Gulf Rebel. What you say down there, Captain Kendall?
What's going on? Another day.
Another day, man. Another day in the life of Captain Kendall, smacking them snapper, huh?
That's right. Yeah, it's been pretty good. It's been steady.
Good, man. What you guys been doing? Just kind of near shore bottom fishing stuff?
Yeah, just snapper fishing, trying to get some mackerel here and there, and anything that bites is a bonus, this time of year.
Absolutely. I'm sure you guys have been trying to watch the radar really closely and just having to zig and zag a little bit, I imagine.
Oh yeah, this storm's really got it swelled up pretty good. But we made today, and it was all right. We had a few little pop-up storm out there that kind of stirred it up, but the crew that I had hung in there, and we ended up getting a nice limit of red snapper and a few mackerel today.
Good deal, man. Have you guys been hanging out in that probably 15-mile out range, or how far you guys been going?
Yeah, it's been a little bit of mix. With considering all the changes with our spots from the past hurricane, but it's been inside 25, I should say. But yeah, it's been in between 15 and 25, and it's been pretty good.
Are you noticing that you're having to get out a little further, like we were talking about? I don't know, it's probably been a month ago now. Whenever those close-in spots were getting beaten up, some you guys still having to get out a little bit further.
Right, a little bit further. Yeah, a little bit deeper water. So,
about water quality, man, with all this rain and these storms, blue water anywhere near that 15, 25-mile range, or what do you guys see on your way in and your way out?
No. Yeah, it's absolutely changed, and that's more typical July weather. I mean, before the storm, the troll and bite was really good. A lot of bait, flying fish, blue water, and after the storm, it really dropped off. It's trying to come back, but man, with all this rain, and the further you go west or southwest, it's just heavy current, 2 to 3 knot current, and sharks and dolphins. And like I said, the water quality it's just chocolate milk. So it's been tougher. If you go west, you better be on something,
right?
Honey hole,
over there.
It's gonna be tough. Yeah, it's gonna be tough. But
yeah, I know last time we were talking 2 or 3 weeks ago, I know you and Captain King on the Lady Ann over here were doing pretty well on the king mackerel and the wahoo and all that stuff, kind of near shore. I guess with all the doo-doo water, that's kind of over with right now.
It's trying to. The water, the trolling, like I said, the trolling bite's on the way up, I think. It's getting better. It wasn't like it was before that little tropical storm we just had, but it's trying to get better. But it's hit or miss, It's like weird, Like I said, you get on a 49 line or whatever, anything past west, it's real bad. You'll get a pocket of good water, and I say good, I mean like green. And like it tends to be find some pools of bait here and there. Like I said, it's just now it's only come up. Baits here and there, better than the last 2 weeks, I say.
You mean as far as it has been getting a little bit better as far as catching live bait on the way out?
Right, better on the bait. Better. I've been seeing a lot of bait schools here and there now showing up. Bonita, all the crazy fish and herrings and all that. But you can get your mackerel here and there. And like I said, the mackerel here recently it's been on, about 5 miles and in, I should say, I know they got a few pyramids here and there and eco reefs there that been holding them better. So, or if you got a fad, if you want to troll over that, that's been where we've been picking them up right over them trolling, or the trolling alley. Trolling alley's actually been pretty good here recently. The king mackerel and all that been showing up, but
you can't catch them in the boat, so you might as well have them out.
Gotta have them out, man. Gotta have them out.
Well, tell us a little bit about bottom fishing, man. Anything crazy? Has the current been cooperative? I know it's been a little bit windy with some of these storms around, but what's bottom fishing been like?
Here, in June, we were using 4 6-ounce leads, a little bit lighter. But now we've had to go up to that 8-12. Again, it just depends on the area. I mean, if you can get away with it, if you're in an area where that pocket, it's not running as bad, you can get away with that lighter lead. But we've definitely had to increase the lead and go down on our pound test. A little bit longer leader has helped. And, if you got live bait, which I've been dealing with damn otters. So I haven't, the past 2 trips, I ain't had a lot of bait.
Like in your traps and stuff?
Yeah, getting up in them traps and all that. But so we've been having to catch them if we can on the way out, which I like to have my bait ready to go. But yeah, we've been dealing with that. But we're going to sniff that real quick. Today I kind of put out some, got that, you know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
So we're gonna handle that here soon.
Otter deterrent. Golly, that's
something.
Great.
Yeah, that's it.
All right, Captain Kendall, we appreciate that short and sweet bottom fishing report, man. We got to get that offshore tip from you. What you got for an offshore tip this week?
I got one. I got a fishing one, and then I got a oddball one for you. But awesome. The fishing one is going to be the trolling game, since we were talking about that today. I like to pull and troll, especially now with all these spots disappearing. I like to troll over these spots. One, you might get a mark. I know some of my stuff might be off a little bit, so I troll. Usually I got to know where it's at, but I troll over it to make sure, here's a show. Or if it's been a while, if I got it marked down in my book, troll over that number to see what's it going to be like. Or, if I'm trolling out to an area I want to fish and I got some numbers here off to the, the east side or west side, I might troll over there and kind of just troll over to see what's going on. And sometimes, if it's been a spot I haven't hit in a while or whatever, I spike up a show, I might say, oh, reel them in, we'll check it here, start here. I say that to say this, most of the time, I'll get a nice bonus fish trolling over it. King mackerel or big mackerel or wahoo even, hell, some of these spots I haven't checked in a couple of years. I've trolled over, bam, just big old, 30-pound amberjack or something, Now I know, like, oh, okay, that's what's on here,
I need to go back to
get
that
an idea. Right. I need to mark that and come back when it's time, But stuff like that, I always say troll over your spots. I know a lot of people, whether your weekend boat or whatever, they pull back and like to get ready, prep. We like to prep on the way out, have our stuff ready to go, and then I troll right over that spot and kind of give you an idea of what you're dealing with. Because, me as a charter boat captain, if I check something I haven't hit in a while and, I don't get a lot, I mark it down. I keep on pushing. Still get a few, troll fish over those spots that are fishy as far as bottom fish. But, yeah, I like to troll right over them spots. You can kind of get an idea where it's at and maybe even the hold up and all that good stuff. So that's a fishing tip for everyone this week.
I like that a lot because you're covering ground. You're checking off many boxes. You're like,
right.
You're just covering ground, and that's ground that you probably wouldn't have covered, or you would have had to gone a long way out of your way if you weren't planning on swinging by those spots. And you're right. Those reefs are ecosystems, so they're going to have bait if they're there, and they're going to have bigger fish, and they're probably going to have some pelagics on top of that somewhere eating something. Right. I like that a lot, man. That's a great tip.
Every day is different. Even if I know it might not be the best show there. I mean, these fish have tails and they'll show up, like with the months or the years, every day is different. So I always try to hit some stuff that I haven't done or whatever, but trolling over them's got to be a must for me. It just helps out. Like I said, you get that bonus fish. So yeah. The other one is I know everybody talks about fishing, and that's what this is all about. And people get caught up in that, what are you using and all this and hooks and mono. But my next tip is more of going to be your safety equipment. Always be prepared. Go ahead and check off, whether before you're going out, check your life jackets and maybe your radio, EPIR, whatever you got, your life vest, your life kit. Check that, because that's how
Fire
you get caught and get in trouble.
Layers.
Everything, man. Check it all. Check your life stuff, because that's what's going to get in it. You might not need it 999.
But that one time, Capt.
999. But that one time, that's all it takes. That's what will get you, out of trouble. So I know everybody likes to talk about, it'll get you on the Showtime room. And so, but that's not what you want. So go ahead and check your life jacket, your life ring, and like I say, all the goodies on there, and maybe put some stuff on there that you haven't thought of now that we got your attention. Go ahead and check it and make sure, run down that list, because, and there's been some boats. I mean, hell, I think somebody got life flighted right in front of me the other day. So you just want to be ready to go.
Absolutely. Things happen quick, and you're not preparing for accidents. You're preparing for them, hopefully for them not to happen, but
things
happen.
Right.
That's a great tip, man. We appreciate the report,
Yes,
Captain Kendall. Folks want to get up with you and book a trip. What's the best way to get in contact with you guys?
They can call me at 251-597-2499 or Brian at 251-747-7777. GulfRebelCharters.com.
Awesome. You guys check them out on Facebook at Gulf Rebel Charter Fishing. Captain Kendall, we appreciate it, man. You guys be safe out there. Keep ducking and dodging them storms, and we'll talk to you next time, Cap.
Yes, sir. Same to everybody else. Appreciate you having me.
All right, folks. That's another awesome report, and it was brought to you by
SunSouth. Everyone loves the great outdoors, but let's face it, the heat can be brutal for those never-ending summer projects. At SunSouth, they get it. With fast and efficient John Deere equipment from SunSouth, you'll spend less time sweating and more time doing. And with 0% financing up to 72 months on select equipment, you'll not only save time, you'll save money, and that's pretty cool. Do more and save more with John Deere from SunSouth. Equipment for those that do. Some restrictions apply. See dealer for details. Expires July 31st, 2021.
And also brought to you by Bucks Island. Bucks Island. They have new pontoon boats, bass boats, bow riders, and aluminum boats for sale. They provide boat service on all kinds of boats, even if they weren't purchased from Bucks. Visit them at 4500 Highway 77 in Southside, Alabama, or give them a call at 256-442-2588. All right, folks, it's always good to hear from Captain Kendall down in the Gulf Rebel in Orange Beach. Let's head on down. We haven't heard from the Bama Beach Bum in a while. Let's see what Matthew Isbell's been up to. What you say, Matthew?
Hey, what's going on, man? I hate you're feeling bad. I hope you get feeling better here real soon. I know that's always a bummer.
Thanks, man. I think it's worse for everybody that's listening to me. It's probably the worst thing. I always cringe whenever I hear people that sound sick on audio.
But, people are way more forgiving about it. They'll be fine. They don't mind you sounding like frog. I'm sure they appreciate the effort.
Well, especially whenever you're bringing them some good fishing info. It's kind of hard to complain about that.
That's right. That's right. When you're talking about, if you were talking about boring stuff like just the news, that's an issue. We're talking fishing. Exactly. Exactly. Talking fishing. All good.
Well, what you been up to, man? I've been seeing you on the pier. I've been seeing you on the shore. I've been seeing you a little bit everywhere. Just kind of walk us through what you've been up to.
Yeah. What's really cool, and I know it's been a while since I've been on the show, but I know we talked about it one of the last few times I was on the show, is that I'm not guiding anymore. And not guiding, a big part of that reason is because I wanted to be able to make content for my channel that I want to make. And when you're guiding, all you're doing is taking people fishing, and it's just constantly, you're kind of doing a lot of the same stuff every day for whatever season of fish is there, and you're focusing in on that. It makes it really difficult to get out and fish for yourself and target specific things and chase certain fish.
A little bit.
Yeah, exactly. You can't do a lot of things. As a fishing guide, you don't get to fish. You're
right.
Taking other people fishing, and you can't really do the things you want to do. So that's been really cool. I've been able to create the content that I want to create by chasing cobia. I wanted to catch a cobia this year. That was a goal for me. I wanted to catch snook. That was a goal for me. I've wanted to catch striped bass. That was a goal. These are things that I've been able to accomplish that had I still been guiding would not have been able to do. And so that's been really cool. And right now, currently, like in this moment, what I'm trying to do personally, a big goal of mine is I'm trying to catch a tarpon from the pier. And, we got a lot of tarpon coming through, and that's been my goal. And I hooked my first one yesterday.
Nice.
I didn't keep him on for very long. He spit, but I mean, just that I was like freaking out on the pier. The fact that I even got one to eat my swim bait, and I started trying to jack him up. He spit, but I got to feel the fish and to see the eat, and it was just insane. But like that kind of stuff, like I've never done any of that, because when I started guiding, that's all I was doing. I didn't have time to go and do these things and spend the time that it takes to catch these fish and target these fish. But now I do. A lot of fun, really cool.
That's awesome, man. Congratulations on your first tarpon hookup. I would love to see what that looks like. So just walk me through that just a little bit. You mentioned a swim bait. How many did you see? Was it just one lonesome tarpon swimming by? Just kind of give me the rundown there.
That particular instance, that where I got a hookup, it was one singular tarpon by itself, and it was just cruising by the pier. And this, I wasn't at Gulf Shores Pier. This was another pier, but Okaloosa Island is where I went to for this. And we've been seeing a lot of tarpon, like a ton of tarpon. I've spent 3 days now. And when I say 3 days, I literally mean 3 full days. Like I spent like the entire day on the pier, and it was one goal of mine was tarpon. And I've seen now, I can't tell you how many tarpon, like pods, singulars. A couple of those days we would just constantly see tarpon coming through. I mean, just wads and wads of them.
Man, I would go down just to see that.
It's insane, man. Like, it's really crazy. And honestly, like Gulf Shores, they get it too. And I've been seeing tarpon on Gulf Shores Pier, but most of them are at the Octagon, which obviously
can't get out to right
now,
right?
Where you can't get there. Yeah. So it's kind of disappointing. So, it's obviously an opportunity anywhere along the North Gulf Coast right now, but seeing those tarpon at the pier is just incredible. But yeah, constantly seeing those tarpon come through. Most of them, like at the pier, there's a lot of competition. You got a lot of folks throwing swim baits, live baits, everything, at these different pods. Not every pod eats. And even when you do get an eat, usually it's like one fish is going to eat out of that pod. So, it's not always, you're seeing a lot of fish, but there's very limited hookups. And so, it's frustrating, but it's a lot of fun at the same time seeing these fish. But yeah, I got my one to eat, which I was super stoked. This is the first year I've ever put any type of effort into trying to catch a big tarpon. And so I was really stoked when this fish turned around. So he was cruising by the pier. There was nobody else that was tarpon fishing close. So I saw this tarpon, pitched my bait, led him really far. I led him 25 feet. I didn't want to spook this fish because a lot of them have been kind of spooky. So I wanted to make sure I didn't splash anything anywhere close to him. And I just eased that bait by him. While he was cruising by, he caught it coming out of the corner of his eye, and he turned on it, whipped around and then started tracking it, and then came up, and the swim bait was kind of close to the top of the water. And I got to see, and I got this on film too, which is really cool, but you can see his mouth just open up and just slurp that thing right off the top of the water. And then he turns around and, takes off immediately. And I'm setting the hook, because what I've been informed when you're doing this from the pier, I mean, you just have to try to set the hook as hard as you can, as many times as you can. I mean, you're just
hammer down,
whacking them. Yeah. Just smacking them in the face. And so that's what I go into. And I'm just jerking as hard as I can, trying to set that hook as much as I can. And I hit him 3 times, with three hook sets. And on the fourth one, I'm trying to set it again, and it just comes flying back at me. So he spit it. Pretty insane experience. I legit, my knees got weak. The adrenaline was so intense. I was shaking.
Got the full experience.
Shaking. Yes. Yeah. And almost, and then kind of as it set in, you kind of get that sick feeling in your stomach, what just happened, and realizing
adrenaline, man.
This was
that
adrenaline
really rush.
Yeah. I mean, that, and that's what I love about fishing. And I'm so glad that I'm in a position that I can do these things and chase these things. It's just, really incredible. I've been able to, again, like I mentioned when we first started talking, a goal for me this year was to catch cobia. And I've caught 2 now from the pier. And that's a surreal experience. One of the ones I did catch off Gulf Shores Pier, when I was hooked up to him and I'm watching him thrash beside the pier, the guy that was helping me out, I was telling her, man, I'm about to pass out, because it's such a surreal moment. You're staring at this fish that you put all this time in, that you put all this energy and effort into hopefully having an opportunity at, and then it happens. You actually see the fish, you throw at the fish eats, you hook it up, you get it to the side of the pier, and you're like, I can't believe this actually is happening right now. So it's you have this out of body experience, and it's overwhelming. It really is. It's pretty special.
Is. I've been there. I know exactly what you mean. I've been fishing with some I've been fishing with some friends over the years that get so excited, when you get a marlin on or a big tuna, they start gagging. It's the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life.
I can't imagine. Yeah, I mean, the stuff that I've been able to do this year, things like that. I can.
That's what it's all about, man.
Now.
It's
Like,
chasing what you want to.
Yeah, I know.
I love that. I love that you're getting to do that. It's cool, man.
Yeah, it's really special.
Well, what else? Talked about the pier. Congrats on your cobia, and I'm sure you'll get a tarpon soon. What's been going on in the surf?
I've been doing a lot of surf fishing as well. You know, the way that I kind of frame my content, you know, obviously I try to post every 2 to 3 days. Chasing those big fish on the pier takes a lot of time and effort and energy, so it's not ever a guaranteed video. So what I have to kind of keep in my back pocket is going after things that are a little easier, and that would be targeting smaller fish and, you know, more numerous fish like your speckled trout, your bluefish, and we've been having opportunities at Spanish mackerel and stuff as well, which all are, in my opinion, some people may disagree, but all of them are delicious fish. And so these are good eating fish to go out and target. But we've had a lot of opportunities at that in the surf. I've had several really good days with Spanish mackerel. I've had several good days now with trout this summer. And bluefish are pretty numerous most days. But bluefish are kind of tricky. Like they're honestly one of the harder ones sometimes and the reason is if you're trying to catch them with artificial, you have a pretty small window with bluefish. Even your trout and your Spanish, most of the day you can go out there and catch those fish in the surf. But with your bluefish, like you got to be there at low light. And once that sun gets up, they're not hitting anything. Like they're still around and you can catch them with cut bait. Like if you do decide to cut something up and throw it out there, you find out, oh, they're still here. They didn't leave. They just won't hit your lures, which is weird. I don't know how that works with them and not the other fish, but for whatever reason, bluefish are like the most light sensitive fish out there. There's probably some science behind it, and maybe I should do some research, but they won't hit a dang spoon.
Guarantee the pier pounder knows. You have to ask David.
Yeah, he probably does. I'm sure I guarantee he does have an answer for that. I think we need to ask pier pounder that question, why bluefish get so picky about artificial lures once the sun's up.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing with them. And I've been having more success with the bluefish on the larger profile spoons. I do throw a lot of diamond jigs, but they tend to not hit those as well as like a fatter spoon, you know, something that's got a little bit larger profile for those guys. But again, you know, and you can throw top waters. I've caught them on poppers and stuff too. But I mean, once that sun gets up, that's pretty much done.
What is your favorite Spanish mackerel recipe? How about that? Let's go there.
Oh, favorite Spanish recipe. Okay, yeah, you know, most people are going to say
give us the Bama Beach Bum's favorite Spanish mackerel recipe.
Yeah. Probably
bleed them, obviously.
Well, yes, yeah. I always bleed them, and you got, in my opinion, with Spanish, you got to cook it that day. I mean,
agreed.
That day. You know,
frozen's
within 24 hours. I'll
definitely don't want to freeze
within 24 hours. No, don't freeze it. Don't let it sit in the fridge for over 24 hours. You know, in my opinion, I've done it. I haven't frozen it, but I've had it in the fridge for a couple of days, and it gets fishy. Like it gets that fishy taste that people are like, I don't like fish. Like,
yeah,
that's the taste that you don't want. It gets that way. But if you eat it fresh, it has that very mild, nice, you know, wet, fresh fish it tastes like. So you got to eat it within 24 hours. But I would say grilling it, and what we do when we grill our Spanish mackerel, I always marinate it in Italian dressing. And then I'll put on Zatarain's Creole seasoning before I grill it. I marinate it for about 30 minutes because you don't want to do it too long because the marinade it's pretty acidic, and it does actually start to quote unquote cook the fish like you would with a ceviche, lime juice, or same scenario. So you don't want to like leave it in there for hours because then your fish kind of is already cooked almost, and then it just doesn't cook as well at that point. So I only do it for 30 minutes. Doesn't take long. Marinate it. Take it out, put your Creole seasoning on it, slap it on the grill. You know, I've done it on cedar planks before, which is very good, very delicious. You know, it kind of smokes it almost. Yeah, if you can use cedar planks for your Spanish, really good. If you don't have cedar planks, you know, it's such a soft fish. You know, you don't want to just put it straight on the grill; it won't hold up. So I usually put it on tinfoil or the cedar planks and grill it up. And man, it's delicious. Love it.
For sure. Hank Shaw a couple years ago did the Hunter Angler Gardener Cook. He did some tamales, man, with Spanish, and it was unreal. Have to get that recipe.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, that sounds fancy. I'm not a fancy cook.
He is definitely a fancy cook. He would blow your mind. He makes the craziest stuff, but it's always delicious. Last year we fried fish skins.
Just the skin.
That's correct. And it tastes exactly like a pork rind.
Really?
Yep, it was delicious. Believe it or not. Yep, it's pretty cool, man.
That
uses
sounds
everything.
like a good YouTube video.
Doesn't it? Exactly.
Need to try.
Yeah, there you go.
Need to try that.
Well, man, Matthew, it's really cool you're doing the stuff that you want to do now and producing some awesome content. I know that the audience and listener and viewer base has been super happy with. I'm sure you get the occasional grumpus, but we don't really care about those guys anymore.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah. Well, they keep things entertaining. You know, if you're not getting hate, man, you're not doing it right. That's right. 100% truth.
That's
if you're not reaching a large enough audience to get people that don't like you, then you're not reaching enough people. So no, we awesome. Like our haters, man. We're not gonna say we don't like them.
No doubt, making you famous, right?
That's right.
All right, dude. Well, we appreciate the report, man. Glad that things are going well on the pier. We'll look forward to having you on next time. If folks want to check you out on YouTube and Facebook, what's the best way to follow you?
Yeah, either one. I post my videos on both platforms. Once you hop on there, if you just type in Bama Beach Bum, it'll pull up the page first thing that comes up, and you can hit the subscribe button or you can hit the follow button on Facebook, and it'll update you when I post some videos.
Always good to hear from you, man. Let us know if you have your next cool adventure. We can be a part of it. Let us know when you have a good report, and we'll talk to you next time.
Absolutely. Thanks, Butch. Get better.
Thanks, brother. All right, guys, that wraps up another great segment. Y'all take a break and check out some of this week's sponsors. That segment was brought to you by Alabama Marine Resources Division.
The Alabama Marine Resources Division reminds all recreational anglers who harvest gray triggerfish, greater amberjack, or red snapper that their catch must be reported through Snapper Check. This includes vessels, kayaks, and shore anglers who possess any of these reef fish. Reporting is mandatory and must be done prior to landing fish in Alabama, regardless of where the fish were caught. Anglers can report to Snapper Check online at outdooralabama.com or through the official Outdoor AL app. For more information about Snapper Check or any of the 2021 fishing seasons, please visit outdooralabama.com.
And also brought to you by Dixie Supply and Baker Metalworks. Dixie Supply and Baker Metalworks are proud to be your metal roofing headquarters for over 40 years. Save time and money by buying from the most reliable manufacturer on the Gulf Coast. Buy it today, pick it up today. They offer 20 Sherwin-Williams colors to choose from and have a 40-year warranty. Baker Metal and Dixie Supply, 2 names, same great service. With the addition of their new store in Cantonment, Florida, they now have 8 locations to serve you. Dixie Supply and Baker Metalworks, your metal roofing headquarters. All right, folks, it's always good to hear from the beach bum, the ultimate beach bum, as Captain Richard calls him. Let's head on down to Dauphin Island, Mississippi Sound, Mobile Bay, Weeks Bay, Fort Morgan. Heck, you never know where Captain Patric's going to be. What you say, Captain Patric Garmeson?
What's up, Butch? Man, I call Bama Beach Bum the bum now that I see him just kind of all over the place.
He's just bumming around now. Bum. Yeah, he's just bumming around. Yeah. You don't know where he's going to be. Could be a pier bomb, could be a jetty bomb. Just never know.
Yeah, and it sounds like the way you just introduced me, it kind of sounds like I might be the boat bum or something, you know.
Just bumming around.
Never know.
Never know. Well, man, what's been going on ugly fishing? What you been chasing?
Man, I've been kind of split duty, and seems like one day we're doing something near shore, or next day we're doing something inshore, and kind of had some different adversities over the course of the last weeks or so with with weather, whether it be rain or wind or whatever, and then you throw in the mix of the bait shrimpers having their hard times of also trying to get out and catch bait. So trying to find bait has been a little bit of a chore. So been doing just kind of rolling with it, man. Customers want to just go catch fish, then I feel pretty good about throwing the cast net and catching pogies and going out and doing some chunking and chumming and live baiting. And we've been catching some king mackerel, some snapper, sharks. Really haven't seen too many jacks here lately, which is kind of odd fishing in the Gulf.
Yeah.
But then, and then going inshore, if I've got bait, trying to make the best use of it. And I say that because the croakers catfish game is pretty strong right now. So you can burn up 10, 15, 20 dozen shrimp if you're not careful in a hurry due to the croakers and catfish in many days. That's not quite as bad when you're fishing deeper structure whether it be the deeper reefs or the rigs or lighthouses or anything where you've got a little depth, the trash fish don't seem to be quite as bad. But anything shallow, like where I have been kind of specifically trying to do some red fishing and stuff, it can get aggravating pretty quick. But there are some redfish to be caught. So anyway, that's kind of the long or short of the bait situation. Either cast net and pogies. I know a lot of guys like to use croakers. I kind of cringe at buying croakers. So if I catch them in the cast net, then they're definitely going on the hook. Or if I catch them hook and line, then we'll keep them and use them for bait. But that's been kind of my bait game. Been kind of slowing down on artificial, not getting as many bites on slick lures as I had been, and really haven't had too many opportunities to start slinging topwater. I've had some fairly large groups. I've had some 3, 4, and even a couple of 5-person groups where we had some kids and adults, and just don't go slinging treble hooks when you got that many people on board.
No doubt.
So I don't really have anything to report on topwater fishing. But overall, inshore, man, if I get around some trout, they're biting pretty good, whether you got shrimp or pogies, and been bigger fish on pogies. Really giants here, but salty, say 2 to 4 pounds. So the quality of the fish have been pretty good on the pogies. The numbers aren't quite as good. I have been successful at catching some pretty good quality fish. Then if I do have some shrimp, I've been mixing up a little bit of red fishing and a little bit of trout fishing, and those have all been working out pretty well for us. Sometimes I'm finding these trouts, like the small, catching a lot of small ones with shrimp, but action is action.
No doubt, man. You just free lining the pogies? You catching a little bit bigger fish that way?
Free line sometimes, cork fishing sometimes. Just kind of depends on my scenario, how many anglers we've got, wind and conditions. I mean, there's a lot of variables. Pogies are constant swimmers. So right. if you hold a pogie in place, he's going to die pretty quick. So a free line is a good effective measure or method, but it's a hands-on, almost like fishing a lure, because you cast them out and you're constantly either retrieving line as the fish is swimming to you or away from you. If it's away from you, then you got to open the bail and let them swim. But it's a constant. It's not a stick it in the rod holder type of bait.
It's not a Rodney situation.
No. What you're gonna have if you start trying to rely on Rodney on a free line pogie, it's gonna swim circles around the boat, and it's gonna wrap up around the trolling motor, the big motor, the power poles, and I mean that can happen. That can happen within.
Real
just
quick.
Say you make a cast, stick it in the rod holder, and you go to. Maybe you got a rod that you're trying to re-rig or something like that. The time you rig up another rod, that bait is tangled up and everything. So that's one thing. Putting it under a cork can help you out, where you can stick it in a rod holder because the bait's fighting the cork, and kind of having to drag that cork around and also you have the visual of the cork, being able to tell where your bait's at. So as far as presentation is concerned, I don't think that's ideal, having it under cork, just because it's not doing its natural thing. There are times where the cork pays off, and it's just the way to go.
Man, I know.
Enough about that. A lot of times the pogie is what wins me money in these tournaments. So
can't overlook
can't
the
give
pogie.
away all the goods.
That's right. Can't give away the pogie. Man, rain has been a big issue, obviously. What are you guys seeing as far as water quality goes? Let's talk about the Sound, the Bay, and maybe on the Gulf beaches. You been doing anything over there?
I haven't fished the Gulf beaches at all for trout. I have done a good bit on the inside of the bay, and today was the first day that I saw pretty water push all the way north of the lighthouse. Yesterday it was total garbage out there. There's some salt down there, but the water on the top was garbage. Today it was totally night and day different. So that water's starting to push in and clean up. Outside of the rivers like Foul River and Dog River and coming out of Weeks Bay, the water is ugly. All the local rain has really got a lot of mud flushing out of those places.
Been a lot of
Probably
rain,
can catch
man.
you some redfish. Yeah, it's been a lot of rain.
I mean, like a lot.
The good thing is most of it's been local, so the effects are not as far reaching as whenever the rivers are flooding upstate. And Alabama River's coming down, Tom Bigby's coming down, Barry Steam Plant, that gauge is coming down. It went tidal this week. So what that tells me, when all of those indicators are there, that tells me that the water in the bay is going to start cleaning up pretty quick. Every time we get a good hard incoming tide, which we had a pretty big tide today that pulled in a bunch of water, it'll just start cleaning up every tide change. And I would anticipate most of the bay becoming fishable again, like, having trout opportunities all the way up to the causeway like we were before the big rivers went to flood.
Man, that's crazy. We've had an interesting. Sounds like summertime. Sounds like it's hot and there's a lot of rain and running from storms, basically.
Oh my God, dude, we are running from storms right now, like just nonstop. It's like, all right, well, there's a storm over here, there's one over here. I'm just picking a area to go fish just to wait on rain to quit or the wind to stop blowing or whatever. So.
I mean, if you look at the forecast this time of year and you say you don't go if there's anything over 50% chance, you ain't never going fishing.
No, you might as well just hang your gear up and I don't know, maybe wait till October when it shouldn't rain in October.
Take up crocheting. I don't know. Maybe some mild knitting.
Yeah.
Well, that's good, man. I mean, it sounds like fishing's decent if you can find some and stay out of the rain. You've been over in the Sound any or anywhere near the island or the bridge?
I have not. I have been mostly on the eastern shore, went out around Foul River today. No, I just haven't been in the Sound at all. I was actually going to go into the Sound today, but there was a bunch of rain kind of socked it in there for a little while, and I was ready to get to fishing again. So
Foul River.
We just well, not in Foul River, just out going and fishing the bay, leaving out of Foul River.
What you doing in my wildest?
Man, I trust me, we did not hurt anything around.
Wasn't that exciting?
No, there were no fish harmed near the Foul River.
Yeah, nothing I've seen over here. Well, dang.
But I tell you the eastern shore is still, because we've had a pretty aggressive easterly wind, there's some clean water over there. A lot of guys I've talked to are like, oh, there's no salt over there. Well, there is that. There's not a lot of salt foam in your wake and you can't really taste it, but there's trout and redfish to be caught. We caught some nice sheephead over there. So if you take your time and just kind of take the areas that you can fish based on where it's not raining or where the wind's not blowing, just kind of be thorough, almost like, there's a lot to be learned about a guy that's going to be fishing in a kayak. That person has a limited amount of range from where they launch, and they're thorough in where they fish. And that's kind of the way I've been trying to fish in the boat. Been successful.
Yeah, we had
putting fish in the boat.
I think it was Captain Richard on a couple of weeks ago was talking about the same thing. We had still had a decent amount of local rain, and I mean, just because you don't have salt in your wake doesn't mean there's no salinity. It may be in the lower third or the lower half of the water column, but those fish got to be somewhere and they got to be eaten. Are you seeing anything like that? Maybe a deeper water bite, with the salinity change or anything like that?
More of my speckled trout success has come in deeper water, but we have caught some shallow water trout in the last week or so, and I would anticipate that to continue, if not even get better as this water in the bay starts to clean up. Like I said, the water's cleaning up, salinity will start improving, and the fish will move as that water cleans up. So a lot of times if you find a line where it goes from okay water to prettier water, a lot of times those fish are going to be there, or even where it's really bad water to okay water. A lot of those fish are going to be kind of in that zone. I mean, there's a lot of fish on the south end of the bay, but man, it's regardless of what time of the year it is, it always seems like the trend is that the fish are moving in a northern direction and then keep getting pushed back as we get river water pushing down.
Yeah, man. I mean, it just seems like, just talking to the guys a little bit and you, and I just don't feel like, I could be wrong, I don't feel like the Gulf Beach speckled trout bite happened that great for us over here on this side this year. What do you think about that? Am I wrong?
No, man. The few trips I've made out there, I haven't found a lot of life on the Dauphin Island side anyway, and the fishing that I've done just didn't. I don't know that we've caught hardly any trout on the Gulf Beach for me.
You think I saw the rainwater, or what you think?
I don't know, man. Looking back to the I can't remember what, maybe Tropical Storm Cindy or one of these, when we had a real bad freshwater event in the month of June about 5 or 6 years ago. The Gulf Beach was on fire. Like it was like all these fish got pushed down and it kind of held them there.
Well, because you think everything else would have less salinity, and that Gulf Beaches would hold the more salinity, you would think, or I would.
Yep. I would think so, but you know what? We don't have fish brains. We have people brains. Sometimes we think too much, Butch.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
I tell you what, man, there's been some surprises so far for me this year where we've just found fish in areas that I wasn't expecting. Like I was fishing some areas down around Fort Morgan one day, trying to avoid some rain, and the wind was just beating the crap out of the bank. The water looked terrible, and we were crushing the fish. And it was a wind-blown bank, but it was when the water had gotten hot. So, like, right now the water temperature's back down because of all the rain. It's only like 84 degrees today. And this was right when it started to rain again, and it was raining regularly, and that water was kind of teetering on that upper 80s, low 90s. And that wind-blown bank, I guess, had a bunch of oxygenated water, and the fish were feeding real well in it, despite the color of it.
That makes sense.
So, and I was only there because I just needed to wet some lines and wait on some rain, and ended up being a good call based on, just got lucky. But I'll take luck, you know what I mean?
Any day of the week, Cap. Rather be lucky than good, for sure. Whenever those two things intermingle, that's when it's a good sign.
Hey. Wherever that intersection lies, I want to be there.
Sign me up. Me too, Cap. Well, what else, man? You had anything really cool? Had any cool catches? Any cool, cool clients or anything?
We caught a little micro tarpon, the first one I've ever caught.
I saw that. I forgot about that. I saw that on the interweb.
Yeah, that was a sweet catch. Just another one of those luck and I guess somewhat a skill intersecting. We popping cork and some shrimp around, trying to find a redfish or drum or sheephead or something, working some shoreline, and got my customer, Mr. Ronnie, sets the hook and it jumps out of the water immediately, and I just saw it out of the corner of my eye. I thought it was a good trout because I could see that it wasn't super skinny like a ladyfish, and I just thought it was a trout, and then it jumps again, and I could clearly see his forked tail, and like, oh my God, it's a tarpon.
That's wild.
Man, I was never so excited to catch a little 20-inch fish in all my life, but that was Capt Mugley's first ever tarpon. So I'm not going to quite put tarpon charters on the website just yet.
Tarpon guides a little off the radar, but hey, you got to start somewhere, right, Cap?
Hey, that's right. We'll get there one day.
That's right. Yeah, Chris Vecsey gave a really cool tarpon report, first report of the day. So you have to definitely listen to that. He has some good stuff. Always like to hear from old Chris.
Yeah, cool. I'll be anxious to hear that. And then recently I had Brandon Hicks, I think he's a podcast listener, him and his daughter, Lucy, and she fished with us. So the two of them fished with me about this time last year, and we tagged some redfish, and Brandon said that about every time they talk about fishing, she would always bring up about her tagging the fish with us. And,
that's awesome, man. That's
so
good
that
to hear.
Was the mission. That was the mission this past trip, and man, she slayed it. She was tagging reds and catching reds, and we got on a good trout bite, and she was reeling them in, and then I was just standing there with the tag and stabbing them with the tag. So
that's good.
Trout this time of the year with the tagging, I do not, man. I like to try to tag them, and I mean, if I can tag them in 5 seconds from the time I get them out of the water, the faster I can tag them and get them back in the water, the better I feel about it. And then, another cool tagging story is yesterday, back-to-back cast, my guys caught tagged redfish that were fish that we had tagged earlier this spring. So
that's crazy. And what was the location difference there?
One of them was probably no more than about 200 yards. And I think the other one was about 200 yards in the other direction. So
that's crazy, man. I don't think we talked on the podcast about this is the second one that we have discussed that you tagged in and or around Mobile Bay that was recaptured over on the Northwest Florida Reports turf. We don't think we've talked about that second one. Wasn't it like?
No,
Go ahead. I don't remember the details of the tag.
The most recent one, John Calagaz with
That's
Fishing
right.
Chaos, he actually caught it on one of the trips, and I think it was April 14th or something, 2019, and then it was recaptured June of this year. So it was at Liberty for over 800 days. The fish was 25 and 3/4, 26 inches long when John caught it, and then it was recaptured at 31 inches. We had originally tagged it over near the hotel around Point Clear, and was recaptured in Escambia Bay.
That's crazy. So
the guy,
essentially 2
yeah,
years.
I mean,
2 years, 6 inches.
Yep.
And what? I mean, what is that? 200 miles? I don't know. I'd have to look it up to be exact, but that's crazy, man.
Poke.
That's a good haul. It's funny because we always talk about redfish being homebodies, like the ones you just talked about, a couple 100 yards away. That's funny, man. You never know.
Oh, and I had another one that I tagged. We tagged over on the Eastern Shore this spring and was recaptured in early June in the Delta.
It's crazy, man.
And a little one, like a 17-incher.
He was getting it.
Those are the ones that should be the homebodies. Like that lower slot, he shouldn't be moving much, and that's quite a hike. So
it's going to be really cool to see what the bull red tagging stuff that you and Richard and the Sea Lab and CCA Alabama are doing. I'm gonna be really, really curious to see what those bigger fish are doing and where they're going. I think that's going to be cool.
Yeah, I'm anxious. I'd love to see if we get any of those fish that because a lot of times in the wintertime, you'll get a lot of bull reds in the Delta and in these tidal rivers, and I'll be curious to see say a Dixie bar tagged bull red that ends up in Dog River or something like that. That'll be awesome.
Yeah,
anxious to see one of those recaptured.
Me too, man. You would think that a couple years of that, you would think that data would start rolling in on the recaptures. That'd be really cool to see.
Yeah,
right, man. That's a great report. We have a cool Hey Cap question this week. I think it's pretty applicable. Bailey Daniels of Fairhope, Alabama says, "Hey Cap, while fishing the inshore oyster reefs in Mobile Bay or Mississippi Sound, I think you and I decided we're going to go ahead and probably classify those as the CCA reefs, the ones that are encompassed in the pylons, don't you think?"
Yeah, any of the Alabama Marine Resource artificial reefs that have been.
Yeah, I would assume.
Yeah, because there's a lot of those reefs out there, and I get that question a decent amount where people are just curious as to how to fish those reefs. So it seems like that's what he's asking.
Yep. It says, is it best to set up inside the reef and cast outside and reel in, or vice versa. Also, when deciding which part of the reef to set up on, what role do the tides play while making that decision? What you think, Cap?
So one of the things that you need to understand is the construction of the reefs. And there's actually a really cool interactive website that the state has that shows the actual side scan of every one of the reefs. And I would encourage anybody who frequents those reefs to check that out and kind of have an understanding. Actually, a lot of guys may be fishing, for instance, they may only fish like Zundel's Reef and Battles Wharf over here on the Eastern Shore because they kind of have an idea of how to catch fish on them. But there's half a dozen or more reefs on the Eastern Shore that you could explore, and understanding the construction of them is a big part of catching fish on them. So several of these reefs are a lot of times where they do it is they'll have the poles set and they actually dump the debris, which most of these things are constructed with either concrete or limestone bricks, and the bricks are about the size of a house brick or maybe a little bit bigger, and they pile them up along the perimeter of these reefs, and then they'll kind of go throughout the inside of it and spread it until they run out of material, because they'll have like permitted X amount of material to put in this reef zone, and they may run out after they just do the perimeter. So a lot of times just fishing right on the edges of the reefs is going to be the best place to fish. And a lot of times that's where the bulk of your material is going to be. So a lot of times you'll see people that pull like right up into the center of the reef and they kind of fish all the way around themselves. And there's certainly some places where you can have some success there, but I always like to try to find the highest relief areas and park myself a good cast away from those high relief areas and fish into them, whether I'm drifting baits with the current down to those areas, or I'm like just casting with, say, a popping cork or a lure or something like that and bringing it back. But main thing is most of these fish are going to orient to where they're going to be facing into the current, and it's kind of every day is going to be different on what their behavior is, whether they're on the downside of the current or on the upside of the current. But I always generally think that they're going to be facing into the current. So I want to bring my bait with the current and have my best shot at the fish being able to see it. That's correct.
That makes sense. I was actually just looking at me and Dad not too long ago. We're over here just kind of messing around on my computer, Outdoor Alabama, artificial reefs, the inshore reef zones. It shows where all of them are. And if you click on them, it'll let you know the last time that there was, limestone added or something like that. Like just now, I just clicked on Denton, reef name, Denton Reef, construction year 1998, enhancement year 2018. So I would assume they probably add some stuff to that in 2018. That's pretty cool.
Yep. Now, one thing I will say is that they have those side scan images of all the reefs on the website, but because of the hurricanes recently, a lot of it has changed a little bit. So like where there may have been a pile of rocks that was maybe 4 foot of relief, may have gotten knocked down to just 2.5 feet or something like that. So the setup may not be exactly the same, but it at least gives you a good place to start when you're approaching a reef. And the one thing is also to talk about reef is to have some reef etiquette. There's a boater there, regardless if they're in your favorite spot or not. Anytime I approach a reef and if there's another boat on it, I always approach from, kill my engine from several hundred yards away, drop the trolling motor and troll the motor into it, get upwind, get up current. That way you don't have to troll the motor too hard and just ease in there to it and give the other anglers a 2 cast and spread out and figure out how it's going to set up for you. But if you've got it all to yourself,
see where his lines and or corks, if he has corks, are going, make sure I avoid his situation for sure.
Yeah. And if I get to a reef and I'm just trying to figure it out and I'm not really dialed in on what the pattern is for the day, then a lot of times I'll make a drift and just drift across the edge of it or through the middle of it and just have everybody fan casting around, and I'll kind of mix it up. If I've got bait, have, say, like a popping cork and maybe slip cork, and maybe even having somebody throwing a grub or a slick lure and swimming it back to you. Just make a drift across, and if you get a bite, if it's close to the boat, you may want to just drift through it and keep an eye on where it was, and then circle back around, set up, and then fish back to it. Because if you go and you hook a fish and you go and drop your anchor or spot lock your trolling motor or something like that, and you cause a bit of commotion, then that school of fish is probably going to scatter. Whereas if you just keep your cool and just drift through it and then circle back around and set up, then it's probably gonna be a good setup and be able to catch a bunch of fish off of it.
Yeah, man, that makes a lot of sense. I don't fish those reefs a whole lot just because I don't know. I don't seem to have a lot of luck there, but that's not what you and Richard and Bobby and them say. I know a lot of people catch a lot of fish on them. I guess I'm just not setting up right on them.
Yeah, those ones around the west end of Dolphin Island, man, those things can produce a lot of fish. And there's a lot of them all throughout Mississippi Sound, Mobile Bay. I mean, we've got a lot of structures, and then the rigs are all enhanced with limestone and stuff, and that's a big part of the reason why fish hold up around those rigs. I mean, the vertical structure is nice, but trout really like that bottom, that hard bottom, that rocky stuff where there's some oysters growing on it and barnacles and all that, versus just a slick bottom when you're getting into that deep structure. We have some good structures out there to fish, and it behooves you, if you're a trout angler, to go out there and learn and understand these reefs, get dialed in on how they set up, because every day that the wind is a different direction, the current can be pulling a little bit different direction, and understanding your setup and where you need to fish will be half the battle on having a successful day.
Yep, that's key for sure. Man, that's a great Hey Cap question. We appreciate that, Bailey Daniels. Make sure you email us at alabama@bestfishingreport.com, or you can send us a direct message on the Great Days Outdoors or the Best Fishing Report page over on Facebook. I've been a little, really haven't had a whole lot of Hey Cap love, man. I don't know if Facebook's algorithm is squashing our stuff or what, but you guys make sure you're following us over on Best Fishing Report and join that Alabama Saltwater Fishing Report private group to make sure you get in on those slick lure packages. Bailey Daniels is going to get a prize pack from the slick lure from Pure Flats. So make sure you email us at alabama@bestfishingreport.com with your shipping address, and we'll get those out to you. Captain Patrick, I know it's hot. Fishing's heating up, and I'm sure your bookings are looking well, but if folks want to get up with you and try to get on that blue wave and try to whack some trout or redfish or heck, whatever's biting, man, what's the best way to get in contact with you?
Best place to go is uglyfishing.com. You can click the book now button, and you can go and view my calendar. And that's really the first step in figuring out when you can get on the boat. And, the next thing is if you want to talk about it, you've got kind of the sky's the limit on when you can go fishing, then give me a call or shoot me a text at 251-747-1554. I will get back to you, and we'll hopefully develop a plan. But yeah, I booked like 3 or 4 trips yesterday afternoon, filling up August, which is a good thing. And then I think we booked some in November. So awesome. kind of like a broken record on here, just people booking all throughout the year and filling that calendar up. And I appreciate all of our listeners. I know a lot of people listen and support me and support the podcast, and I couldn't be successful without this platform and our listeners. So I do appreciate everybody that's involved in this and our listeners, of course. So
heck yeah, man. We all do. We appreciate it.
Can't be appreciative enough. And I will also echo what you're saying about the Facebook algorithms or whatnot. I mean, I noticed you mentioned about the Hey Cap question. I was like, man, you know what? I don't know that the last couple of times I've been on Facebook, if I've even seen anything from Alabama Fishing Report, the group or the page. what I've noticed in a case like that, where I know somebody that I know is putting information out there and I haven't seen it, I'll go to their page directly or that group directly, and then it's like it resets the algorithm or something, and then that group or page will start showing back up in my feed. So if y'all are listening and you haven't seen it on your social media, go to it direct and get that thing fired back up, headed your way.
Yeah, for sure. We definitely need some more Hey Cap questions. They've been lacking a little bit. Man, that's a great report, Captain Patrick. We appreciate it as always, man. We look forward to talking with you next time.
All right, Butch. Talk to you soon, buddy. Thanks a lot.
Yep, stay safe out there, man. Watch them storms.
All right, buddy.
All right, guys, that wraps up another great segment. Y'all take a minute to check out some fishing chaos fishing tournaments coming up near you. For Alabama saltwater anglers, you'll want to check out these awesome tournaments. The Alabama Deep Sea Fishing Rodeo will take place on Dauphin Island, Alabama on July 16th through the 18th, 2021. The Alabama Deep Sea Fishing Rodeo's tickets will be available for purchase on the Fishing Chaos app starting this Sunday, June 20th, 2021. Also, the 39th annual Condi Cavaliers Fishing Rodeo will be held at Dauphin Island Marina on August 7th and 8th of 2021. Tickets will be available for purchase beginning June 20th, 2021 as well. The Mobile Rotary 31st Annual Tarpon Catch and Release Tournament tickets are already for sale as we speak, and that tournament will take place on August 7th, 2021 at the Dauphin Island Marina. All proceeds go to support Rotary Community Projects or the Rotary Foundation, a nonprofit organization. More tournaments near you, info and full tournament details, including ticket purchases, can be found online at app.fishingchaos.com/tournament. And also brought to you by Advanced Transmission in Spanish Fort. Give the professionals a call who have been trusted on the Gulf Coast for over 25 years at 251-626-6061 or check them out online at www.advanced-transmission.com. All right, folks, we went a little extra for you guys this week. I know last week was a really cool show on marine lithium batteries. Due to a little illness that I have going on and some other stuff, we couldn't get a report out last week. We got an awesome report out this week. We got a tarpon report, inshore, near shore, offshore, and onshore. It was great to hear from all of our contributors. We appreciate you guys listening. Make sure you please follow us on the Best Fishing Report Facebook page, as well as join that private group, Alabama Saltwater Fishing Report. If you'd like us to email you the podcast each week, just text the word fishing to 314-665-1767. Again, just text the word fishing to 314-665-1767 and subscribe to our email list, and we'll send you the new show each week. This week's Alabama Saltwater Fishing Report was brought to you by KillerDock. KillerDock uses marine-grade aluminum to make fabulous fish cleaning tables and stunning canopies that will keep us out of the sun. KillerDock combines durability, function, and design to uniquely upgrade your entire dock experience. Visit KillerDock.com to see more. And also Fishbites. Check out the full line of scented saltwater and freshwater baits, as well as tackle at fishbites.com. And also brought to you by Photonus Defense PD Pro Ultralight Ultra Compact Night Vision Systems. Simply the best in-class night vision systems ever built. Contact them at photonusdefense.com to learn more. Photonus Defense, Masters of Darkness. KillerDock. Also brought to you by Coastal Conservation Association of Alabama. Check them out at ccaalabama.org.
This week's Saltwater Fishing Report is brought to you by Angelo DePaola, the Coastal Connection with EXP Realty, your boating and beach property specialist. Check me out on Facebook at Angelo DePaola Realtor, the Coastal Connection, or call me direct at 850-287-3440.
And also brought to you by B&M Pole Company. B&M Pole Company is more than just panfish. Check out their Sam's Super Salt series designed for shallow water fishing for trout and redfish at bnmpoles.com. And also Foster Contracting, fortified roofing pros. Enjoy less stress knowing you have reduced your risk for damage with Foster Contracting. Check them out at fortifiedroofingpros.com or call them at 251-447-2978.